welcome back to Digi Bros. I've got, it's been months now, perhaps even a year, that I've been sitting on this fucking giant, I'm sure I've explained most of this on the show in regards to my analysis of Pokemon the anime. Because at some point, I think it was when Pokemon Go came out, I started rewatching the original show.
Right.
And it's great.
Pokemon Go's only been out for 4 months, by the way. Not
it's only
a
been
year.
4 months?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't fucking remember when this shit happened. Either way, at some fucking point, I was rewatching the original anime, rewatched most of it, and it's fucking great, and I really enjoy it. It's hilarious, and it's fun. And that begged the question of, what the fuck happened? Because I remember the first show being great. I remember Johto still, continuing to be good. And then we took a break from it because we moved and we didn't have Pokemon Cable anymore. And then we picked it back up.
Pokemon Cable?
Yes, Pokemon Cable. Whatever fucking channel it came on, we didn't have it. Yes, Pokemon Cable. But we joined back when Ruby and Sapphire started. In the anime, I remember it just not being any good.
Uh-huh.
And I could never remember really why. I remember not liking May and Max. I remember it kind of changing and getting weird, and obviously there was some magic that was there that stopped being there.
Right.
So when we were watching the original show again and theorizing and analyzing on it, we had determined it seemed like the true end of Ash's arc is at the end of Pokemon Johto. Because throughout the original show, Ash is a dumbass. He's a fuck-up. And that's why he's a great character. He's very endearing. He's very hilarious. Because he's an idiot. And every gym badge he earns, he does it because his personality was charming enough, or he did something nice enough and goofy enough that he earned the badge through, merit rather than skill. And so when he gets to the Pokemon League, everyone's telling him, Ash, you need to keep training. Ash, you need to train. You're going to get your ass kicked. Ash, you need to train. And every episode he ends up fucking around. He doesn't train. He'll save the day. He'll make a friend, but he doesn't fucking train at all. And then he gets his ass handed to him in the Pokemon League before he even gets to the finals. And then that's where he realizes, okay, I need to get my shit together and actually do better, so I'm going to go to Johto, and I'm going to do a better job, and I'm going to actually, train and fight that Pokemon League. And so when he gets to the Johto League, the rivals carry over. Gary got serious because he lost to the Pokemon League the first time. And so, he was bitter. I think he lost to Ash. Or no, he didn't lose to Ash because he had to fight someone else. But either way, he lost, and it was a huge, upsetting defeat for him because until then he had never been defeated and he had this giant ego.
Right.
So Gary goes into it. He gets serious. Ash is getting serious. They build up throughout the whole show, and then he fights, his rival Richie from the first one isn't there, and it clearly built up to have Ash does the Pokemon League again, and he loses, but this time he tried, he did a lot better. And then that's where I didn't watch all of Johto, but I kind of watched, the ending part just to get an idea of what was going on, and I was like, well, clearly this was the end of Pokemon. This was the end of Ash the character's arc.
And it is literally the end of the show that is just called Pokemon.
Yeah.
There's 270 episodes of Pokemon, and then in Japan, that was all one show, and then the next one was Pokemon Advance,
Yeah. And so I was like, well, yeah, that's because he goes to a new show, he gets rid of Brock and Misty, clearly it's kind of a soft reboot.
Right.
And that's what I've always been thinking. And then I found on Amazon Prime that I could watch Pokemon Advance. And I was like, well, let me give Pokemon Advance a try and see if it lives up to my theories. And the thing is, Pokemon Advance starts off, he left all his guys in Johto, he left Brock and Misty, and he goes to the new place. And it's this one is kind of his clear goal from the beginning is that he's gonna go fight the Pokemon League. But now he's meeting May, who is a garbage trainer. She doesn't give a fuck about Pokemon. She's kind of being forced into it because her dad's a gym leader or whatever. And so it's all about him training this new dipshit. Ash is now experienced and seasoned and he's gonna go fight the Pokemon League. So it's about him training, and it's about him sort of introducing May and Max to the ways of Pokemon and being a trainer and like what that means, which is great as like an idea reboot to a new generation where it's like, this is, now it's Ash's turn to teach someone else because he already learned for himself. And I was thinking about that, and like it does really continue Ash's character directly from the other thing. Like, it's not as much as a clear definition of the other one being the end, and now it's just kind of like treading water. It's really like Ash's character is still kind of building from there. And I fucked up. I was getting really far into this, and then now I lost all the pieces. This almost hard to do.
Do the last one first. Do the hardest one first.
But anyway, so I was making this observation about Ash, and then I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go watch the last episode of Pokemon that exists. Because the new anime is coming out, and it has a completely different art style.
Right.
Like, it looks
totally
wacky and it's not out yet,
okay.
but it's coming out soon. And the Pokemon show has ended.
Right.
Like, the X and Y show has ended. So I was like, let me go try to watch the last episode of X and Y. And I, like, kind of watched some stuff in the Pokemon League, like his final battle, and it's, like, fucking epic. Like, the scale of these battles has gotten so much bigger from, like, what we had growing up, which was nothing. It was goofy joke battles, and now this is like Ash is a full shonen action hero, like really having a giant battle with an epic rival, and it's fucking like Ash is no longer just some shitty trainer. He's got his Greninja, which has the special battle bond shit that is like unique to that Pokemon, and is some undiscovered shit.
Do the last one first.
Okay.
Last one first. The one at the bottom. The one you were going to do last. Do it first, so that, because it's obviously the hardest one.
I'm very caught up in Pokemon. But anyways, I'm looking at this shit, and Ash is going through, he's got his epic Greninja shit going on or whatever. And then I watched the last episode of Pokemon, and they do like the whole Ash's parting ways with the new girl and whatever the other fucking gay ass characters were, but it's like recapping the entire X and Y show, and I kind of see that like a lot of really epic shit has happened in this show, and it's been like this fucking crazy ordeal that's like way beyond the scope of anything that the original shows could have done or would have been about. And I got this appreciation for the fact that Ash as a character has evolved from being this goofball to really being like a traditional shonen action hero.
Right.
And like, while I don't think I'd be really interested in seeing that Pokemon show, I can appreciate, especially for the animators and storytellers of this, that it's probably a big deal for them to kind of like have Pokemon go through this big grandiose phase, because now they're changing art styles and really doing even more of a reboot. So it's neat to see that X and Y must have been like their way of really reaching the heights of what the anime could be, and like where Ash was going as a character. So I'm like, my original theory that Ash's arc had ended has now like completely changed, because it might be that his character has really always been evolving. I just wasn't watching the whole time.
Right.
Like, it might actually have a very linear progression. But then he's also just a less interesting character because he's not goofy, funny Ash, which that's the fun of it. But then it seems like he's gonna be goofy, funny Ash in the new show with the totally different art style and stuff. And then like the last episode of X and Y definitely seemed like we're sending off this style of show, and they indulged in what it used to be.
What are you doing? Why are you leaving that area?
I couldn't remember what was going over there.
You had to blow up that big bomb to get the thing.
Oh, I gotta blow up the bomb?
Yes, it's inside the big bomb.
Anyways, I'm treading water now and talking about. You get what I was saying.
Yeah, I understand.
It was interesting to me to finally come to this conclusion about Pokemon, and I really don't. I feel like this fucking obligation to watch all of it, and I know I can't.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, I've heard essentially like. Did you ever watch the Canepa Effects video about the current Pokemon or the X and Y? because he was saying that he's never stopped watching the show.
I see.
He was like, as a guy who's never stopped watching Pokemon, like he was so excited that the show was finally serious, like that the battles were actually real, and like there was people really thought Ash was finally gonna win the Pokemon League.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, man, I would have been real disappointed that he didn't win.
Yeah, like people were really sure that
it was fucking insane.
Which is it's kind of crazy that they didn't let him win finally.
Yeah, because it's like they clearly knew they were going to reboot it with the new art style and shit, and they knew this was going to be the biggest finale they ever had. Why didn't they just let him win and do a different character? Like, the next generation of kids doesn't give a fuck that it's Ash or Satoshi or whatever the fuck. Like, just let him end. Let him move on with his life. Let Ash win.
Go.
Where's the last one?
Go over there. Go to the left. Go to down left. Go down. There's a platform that you activated earlier. Right, that one. Yes. All of those things you just said are true. All of those O's were absolutely
several
factual.
O's. What a pain in the ass. It
was called Dark Prison.
Versus Nitros.
That princess, not cute.
Oh, shit. I love when he throws off his scarf at the beginning. It's so cool.
Not the most attractive gaming princess I've ever seen. Yeah, as cool as the scarf thing was, it's annoying that he was immune while he was doing it. What are those circles now? That's a new thing.
Yeah, it's a new attack.
Yeah.
He throws a disc.
I like hearing all that Pokemon stuff. None of it surprises me because I've kind of gotten the impression that that's what it's like, and especially
I didn't know anything about what it was like in X and Y. The only episodes of X and Y I've watched were the earlier ones, which all seem boring as fuck and super lame. But then it seems like it really, really gets big, as it goes along.
I also know that, after the Pokemon, the original show, a lot of it, Ash's character arc isn't dead, and it comes back the most in X and Y. But, there's a much stronger focus on the other characters, where it's it's really about May, or it's really about Dawn.
And May and Max are great characters that I didn't appreciate as a kid, mostly because of shitty voice acting and, just thinking they were lame, because I liked Ash, and I wanted it to be about him, and then Brock comes back within, 5 episodes.
But Brock is gone by the next one, right?
No, he's all the way through Diamond and Pearl too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Brock really stays for a long time. I never realized.
He was too important. Too important to the show.
Even though he kind of, but it's also true that Pikachu gets a little boring. Ash is less funny. Brock is a stale character, so that's not as interesting. So I do see why it's not as fun as the original show, where it's just super fun and goofy,
I mean, Black and White, if I'm thinking back on it, had no narrative arc at all. Because I watched 35 episodes of it. Actually, the characters who had the most narrative was Team Rocket.
Yeah.
Because that was the first show where instead of them just showing up every episode with something totally random, they were setting up for something in the background. But it was the kind of thing where it made no progress each episode. It would just give you some tiny hint that Team Rocket was gonna do a thing at some point, but then you'd never get around to that thing.
Yes.
But that was the one that had both Iris and Dent, and they were just fun to watch. I mean, Iris was training up her Larvitar, because she's, I think it's Larvitar, or what's the Pokemon Iris has?
It was Axew.
That she was eventually gonna become, the 8th gym leader or whatever. But for now, she's not strong enough to train her dragons, so she has to get better at that. And then Dent was just a sommelier.
The first show is just so funny and charming, though. It's a lot of fun.
I think Black and White's really funny and charming. The best thing about what the first show had and Black and White had is that the Pokemon themselves are fun.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of Diamond and Pearl or Advance, but from what I had seen, I never cared about any of the Pokemon themselves. I was just like Piplup. It's just a fucking thing.
What really bothered me in like some of the X and Y stuff I watched is that the Pokemon will talk in a way like, and they treat it as if they're really talking, and like people will respond to it, but they'll just be, it's especially bad because you get this like obnoxious dub voice saying day-to-day, 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 and they'll talk for like an entire minute, and everyone will be like, oh, like they're really reacting to it talking, but it's just going. It was
not like that in Japanese.
And I'm just like, this, like, I don't remember this being, like, you watch the original show and the Pokemon don't really talk to people like that in the same way. God damn, I need to focus. But,
it's not like that in the
I'm
Japanese
like,
version.
I cannot stand that.
You.
Well, I watched the last episode of Pokemon Raw.
Yeah.
And it was a day-to-day going,
shut the fuck up! Are you talking about an X and Y or black and white?
X and Y.
Okay, well, I'm talking about black and white.
Yeah.
I haven't seen X and Y.
Either way, I'm saying in X and Y, and some of the movies, the movies have fucking constantly talking Pokemon. That pisses me off. Like, actually talking Pokemon.
Yeah.
I was like, this makes it weird. Like, it doesn't feel like they're pet monsters anymore.
No, it's very bizarre when they can talk. I mean, with Mewtwo, it was like, Mewtwo's not really a Pokemon.
He's like a bastard of science. It's cool.
Yeah. And with Slowking, or like, with Lugia, it's like, okay, well, he's like a god. Yeah. And then with Slowking, it was weird, but it was hilarious, so it was worth it. But then Lucario just kind of tore that whole thing wide open, and it was just like, I
was watching whatever newer movie, like, about Diancie or whatever, and it's like, showing, it starts off with like this whole like town of these Pokemon, and they can all talk, and there's an old one with a mustache, and they're like talking about the fantasy plot of this thing, and I'm like, this isn't Pokemon, this is dumb.
That's not a Pokemon, that's a Chinese myth dragon.
Exactly. It's like, now I feel like I'm just watching some stupid crap, I don't know. Just feels lame. The movies are horrible.
I remember, because I never played Diamond and Pearl, which I assume is where Lucario comes from.
Yes.
When I saw I saw parts of the movie, the one where, I think with the underwater civilization and shit, which has the talking Lucario, and I had just assumed Lucario was a legendary.
Yeah,
but he's because of that movie.
Which is strange.
And then I found out he's not. They treat him
like he is.
And I was like, wait.
But he's not.
So can my Lucario talk? Can a normal Lucario talk?
None of the normal Lucarios after that can talk. Only that one could talk. It's weird, because he's not a legendary. Because he was one of those where his movie came out before the game came out, and so he was like the special Pokemon, but then he wasn't a legendary.
And then they put him in Smash.
They put him in every fucking game.
With the moveset of Mewtwo. So I had assumed, because he could talk and had the moveset of Mewtwo, that he was a psychic Pokemon.
No.
I had assumed that for years, and then I finally get a Lucario.
That's the enigma of Lucario. He's fighting in steel. Like, he's just some Pokemon.
He's not psychic.
Well, his ability is Aura Sphere or whatever, which is a fighting move.
Psychic.
Confusing.
How come he can talk and use Mewtwo moves?
I don't know. How come Ash's Greninja grows his hat and hair onto his face? It's Ash Greninja. They call it that in the show, which is super funny.
And in the game now.
It's Ash Greninja!
The Sun and Moon have the Ash Greninja Mega Evolution or whatever.
It's a battle bond.
Oh, yeah.
Because Greninja and Ash trained so super gay that they now bond with each other through magic.
My God. The Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic.
Yeah. Oh man, alright.
Well,
one of these last 4 areas.
We're about at the end of this episode-ish, so if you want to think of something to talk about other than Pokemon, we can do that on the next one.
Alright.
Later, everybody.